Hello everyone. Let's start the session. Right. So last session we discussed about all the TypeScript modules, namespaces, approach, how to handle them, and after understanding everything in TypeScript, now from today we are going to start working with. I hope everyone is clear with all the TypeScript language basics and details. So that now from today we can start working with Angular. So we are going to understand about Angular. So whatever we learned up to now is very much important because the language used by Angular is TypeScript, and we detailedly learned about that language. Now working with Angular will be more easy and convenient. So while we are dealing with this, right? Um, yes, what is your doubt, Rahul?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
Sir, actually, the example we did for the abstract class,
Uh,
for that I have one question.
hmm,
Like, sir, in that example, we define one contract like interface,
hmm,
and after then we create one abstract class and we implement that interface in it. Okay, and in that we override all the properties in that abstract class. And
not
after,
overriding, we are implementing.
yes, sir, we implementing all the
Uh,
properties. Right?
huh,
After then, sir, we create one component and we extend that abstract class in it. And
huh,
from that component class, we create one print method, and from there we use all the properties of abstract class, like super dot name, super dot quantity, something like that, right?
hmm,
So, sir, what I did that same example, and that's working fine. And again, in the second example, what I did, like I just initialize the properties in the abstract class, and from the component class, I'm directly called from super dot something, but I am getting undefined in that.
already we discussed the rules, na? That you cannot call the properties and use the properties directly in the extended class.
Okay, okay. So, sir, that is
The,
mandatory. We have to
huh,
the
that is the
component class.
basic rule. We learned that only methods only we can implement in from the super class, right?
Uh, okay, okay, sir.
We cannot implement the properties, na?
Okay, like sir, in the child class only we have to use like super dot, and then we have to initialize and we can use.
Ha ha ha. Right.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Uh, right. Anyone else have any doubt related to any TypeScript related things? I hope everyone is clear. Right. Yep. Okay then. Yeah. So in the introduction, I given an overview already relevant to what is Angular, a simple overview, but one more time we will detailedly discuss about that now. So what you need to know before starting with Angular first, the key point is Angular is an open source. So it is an cross-platform developers platform. It is a developers platform. Generally, many times when people talk about Angular, generally people just say that Angular is a framework. It's correct. Angular is a framework. Even Angular people say that Angular is a framework, but so it is not just only framework, it is more than a framework. So better to say that Angular is a developer's platform. It's a good term to use for Angular actually, especially. Technically, why it is good to say as a developer's platform. So can you tell what is developer's platform? Developers platform means what? Have any idea? What is developers platform? You have any idea? What is a developers platform? What do you say? What is a developers platform? What do you think a developers platform means? So developers platform, any idea? Yeah, technically, a developer's platform means usually developers platform provides end-to-end solution for a developer end-to-end solution for a developer for building, for debugging, for testing and for deploying application. That means it is a technology which will provide everything that is needed from building to deploying. For building to deploying, whatever tools are required, everything is provided by this platform. So Angular is not just only a framework. One of the great advantages about Angular is it's a developer's platform. That means it provides a language for you. It provides a framework for you. It provides several tools for end-to-end development. That means for testing, so for debugging, for deploying, whatever tools are required, it will have a complete tool chain actually. That means technically, so it provides a complete tool chain. It provides a complete tool chain for developer. Actually, tool chain contains collection of all the tools that are required from building to deploying. So generally, if we say that it is a framework, then framework is just a collection of some components. But it is more than a framework. So you can better say that Angular is a developer's platform. Of course, if Angular is a framework only, but it is not just only one framework. So that means Angular provides you a language. Angular provides you a language, TypeScript. Angular provides you the frameworks. It provides you the framework support like MVC, MVVM, like microservices, services. And it provides support for frameworks like Cordova, Ionic. So, and native script. So it provides several framework support, native scripts. It provides testing frameworks like Jasmine and Karma, Karma. It provides library like RxJS. So it provides a template library called materials, animations. So it provides end-to-end solution for developers actually. So it has a lot of things inside it. That is the reason if you say Angular is just a framework, that means you are just restricting it to certain things. So better you can say that Angular is a developer's platform. It have everything inside it. It has language, it have frameworks, it have testing frameworks for testing, it have support for libraries. Actually, in other technologies, we need to explicitly add some facilities. We need to add some facilities. Angular inbuilt comes with all these facilities. It comes with all these facilities. So better you can say that Angular is a developer's platform. It's what technically we call it as. Officially, Angular is a framework only. No objection in that, right? But it is not just a framework, it is more than that. So what kind of applications you can build? So with Angular, so you can build desktop native applications, desktop applications. That means rich graphical interface, desktop installed applications you can build. You can build single page applications, SPA, single page applications. So you can build progressive web applications. Angular have the ability to build desktop single page progressive. Single page application means user will stay on only one page and he will get access to everything onto that page. That means you can observe, suppose early days when you are using like Facebook, or you are using like Gmail, you might have seen that early days, I am talking about early days when we are using, I scroll down at the bottom of the page, it says next post. That means there will be a button next post. So you click that button, next set of posts will load. Gmail, like you click next 20 mails will come, next previous 20 mails. So that means user need to navigate from one page to another page. But observe now, user will stay on only one page. And when he scroll down, continuously next set of pages are loaded. So that's how it happens. The next set of pages are loaded continuously. That means user will be on only one page. Everything is loaded onto that page. Continuously scroll down. And when new details are added to page, it is not refreshing the existing details. The new details are added to page without reloading the current page. That's what actually the single page applications are. Single page application. So user will stay on only one page and get access to everything onto that page. So Angular can build professional single page applications. Now we have more better than single page applications, the progressive web application. Progressive applications are nothing but applications will have app-like experience. Applications will have app-like experience. That means in a browser, you will feel like you are using an app in the browser. Those type of applications are progressive. For example, suppose I'm typing here. Suppose I am opening here some photopea.com. I opened some photopea.com. You can see, so this is just some photopea.com. And you can observe that I selected a new project. I create. You can see that here, you can see that this is an online Photoshop. Online Photoshop. So it is a website. Photopea is a website, but it is an online Photoshop. That means a tool is provided to you on a page. It's like you are using Photoshop in your browser. That means it is like you are using Photoshop in your browser. That means it's like app. You are watching an application on your browser. App-like experience on a browser. It will not look like a page. It will look like an application. So these kind of applications are called progressive web applications. Progressive web applications means they have an app-like experience in the browser. You will not feel like you are using a page. You will feel like just you are using an application inside the browser. These kind of applications are called progressive web applications. Progressive web application. So Angular provides all the facilities. Angular have the complete infrastructure, which allows you to build desktop native applications, single page applications, progressive web applications. With Angular, if you can integrate with the frameworks like Ionic or Cordova, or NativeScript, you can build mobile native applications also. Mobile native application. So Angular with Ionic, Angular with Cordova, Angular with NativeScript, you can build mobile native applications. That means applications that can run on Android, iOS, cross-platform mobile applications. You can build even cross-platform mobile applications if you can use your Angular with additional frameworks like NativeScript, Cordova, and all these. Actually, Cordova can build cross-platform mobile applications with JavaScript itself. So you can see Cordova. Yeah. So this is Apache Cordova. This is Cordova. So it allows you to build cross-platform mobile applications, mobile apps with just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We can use Angular. We can use Angular for building. So with this framework, for building cross-platform mobile applications. Actually, when they introduced AngularJS before Angular, I'd given you some differences between AngularJS and Angular I explained already. So when they introduced AngularJS, AngularJS internally was built with Cordova. AngularJS was internally built with Cordova, Apache Cordova. So it is a framework used for building cross-platform mobile applications. So You have native script, native script. So native script is also a framework. You can build native applications, mobile native applications. So by using Angular, Vue, TypeScript or JavaScript, right? So these are all cross-platform frameworks. Additionally, you can learn to build these applications actually. So Angular allows you to build desktop native applications. So allows to build single page applications, progressive web applications, right? All these Angular can do. And already I given you an overview in the introduction itself, how Angular is different from Angular JS. We discussed those points. So what is JavaScript? What is jQuery? What is Angular JS? What is Angular? In the introduction, we discussed about that. So now what are the features? What are the features, the major features of Angular? One of the main feature of Angular is we can develop applications across all platforms. All platforms. That means it is open source. It is built by Google and maintained by large community of organizations and developers. So it is complete open source. It is open source, and it is built by Google, and it is maintained by a large community of developers and organizations. So, and it supports the frameworks like Cordova. It supports frameworks like Ionic. All these are the frameworks, right? Right. Now, important here, the key point is we have to understand the other features. Already we discussed what is Angular JS Angular. If you are a guest appearance user, so you need to follow all the classes we already discussed from the beginning, so many things, right? Yeah. So because sometimes people jump into the class, tomorrow our admin will verify everybody. Because once we say Angular is started, several guest users will come. Tomorrow our admin will verify all these additional people. And they ask all the irrelevant questions. So because they haven't attended previous sessions. So if you have missed anything, our admin will contact you and let you know about how you can manage those missed sessions. Okay, na? All right. Because once we say we started Angular, several guests will come, right? Tomorrow our admin will verify all of you and he will let you know about it. Okay. Yeah. So once contact our admin, he will let you know about that. Okay. Yeah. Even backups also we conducted. I hope you even not attended the backup sessions also. Huh? Right. We conducted the backup sessions also in the beginning. We sent, then in that we discussed already this, right? Once go through them. What is JavaScript? What is jQuery? What is Angular JS? We learned everything. Huh? Yeah. So, and what we are learning about the features. So the features of Angular means what are the advantages when compared to over Angular JS only. Am I right? Over Angular JS only. Few features already I explained and few we are detailedly discussing now. Right? So first point is we can develop applications. We can develop applications. So across all platforms, It uses the frameworks like Cordova, like NativeScript, and with the help of these frameworks, can you log in with your registered registered email ID so that I can talk to you, whoever you are, right? Can you log in with your registered ID? Log in with your registered ID. Yeah. So technically, so what we are discussing is all the features. Whatever we are discussing, all are the features of Angular over AngularJS, right? So some more features when compared to AngularJS. I hope everyone is there in those sessions when we discussed about what are the drawbacks of AngularJS. I hope everyone is there now. We discussed about the drawbacks of AngularJS, right? What is AngularJS? We discussed about the drawbacks, am I right? I hope everyone remembered those. Yes.
Hi, sir. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
Yeah, hi, sir. Good morning. Am I audible?
You are audible.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I did not attend in the past where you are teaching like AngularJS.
You do one thing. You contact our admin Ramesh.
Okay.
He will send you the videos of that session which you missed out. Okay, na?
Okay, sir.
Right. So technically, so we already discussed what is JavaScript, what is jQuery. So no need to again deal with all those things, right? So if you are not attending, contact our admin, right? He will find a solution for those problems. Right. Now, here, when we are dealing with Angular, we are discussing about the features of Angular. That means these are all the features over AngularJS. So what are all the features over AngularJS? Not only features of over AngularJS and more additional advantages of Angular. So Angular can build applications across all platforms. So it uses frameworks like Cordova, Ionic, NativeScript for developing cross-platform mobile applications. One of main advantages is application can reach broad range of devices. That means your application can work from a browser to a mobile. Everywhere it can work. From a browser to mobile, it can work everywhere. Application can run on any environment, Windows, Linux, Mac, so Android, any operating system services, right? So that means we can build so applications, web, distributed, native mobile, native desktop, as I already told you, single page, progressive web application. So it provides you everything that is required to make your application cross-platform. Another important Angular when compared to AngularJS and other technologies. So the speed and performance. These are all the features which we don't have in AngularJS. Already I told you AngularJS uses, if you remembered, we discussed that AngularJS uses legacy library. It uses a legacy library. AngularJS uses a legacy library. Legacy library means a huge library. It uses a huge library, so which is loaded for your application environment. Even if you are not using certain features, so it loads everything. That means it loads everything, even you don't need that, even when you don't need them. So now Angular improves the performance and speed because Angular uses a modular approach. Angular uses a modular approach. That means modular approach means application specific framework. That means what is needed. So what is needed for the situation, only that is loaded into memory. That means what is required for that particular situation, only that is loaded into memory. That means it will not use legacy library. So where already we learned that AngularJS uses a legacy library. Angular will not use a legacy library. It is modular and it uses asynchronous techniques. It uses async techniques. Async techniques allows you to execute multiple tasks simultaneously at the same time, improving the performance. It uses an unlocking mechanism. So it handles this asynchronous library. So by using RxJS is one JavaScript library. Angular uses this asynchronous library. So asynchronous uses unblocking technique actually. So that means generally AngularJS uses legacy library and this uses a modular library. And modular library means only what is needed for the situation is loaded. So as we already discussed that AngularJS is slow because of this legacy library. Now Angular is 10x faster, means 10 times faster than AngularJS. It is 10 times faster than AngularJS as per the Google team. Why? Because of this modular library. And what is advantage is modular library allows the application to reach even low bandwidth devices. So that means it can even reach the devices that have very low bandwidth, like smart devices. And very important is now Angular, so 9 and Angular 10 comes with a compiler called AOT. Later detail I will tell you that compiler when using them. Uses a compiler called AOT, ahead of time. So Angular 9 and 10 internally comes with AOT, ahead of time, along with a compiler JIT, just in time. So these two are the compilers so used by Angular. And difference between these two compilers is early versions use JIT compiler actually, and Angular 9 and 10 uses AOT compilers, ahead of time compiler. What is difference between JIT and ahead of time is nothing but JIT compiler will compile your code. So first it will compile all your code after the page is loaded into browser. So that means it compiles in browser. That means everything is compiled in the browser. That means entire library. What is problem with the JIT is it loads entire library. So that means it loads whatever library is required, into browser, and it compiles in browser and compiles in browser. That is why it is called just in time. Just in time means browser will compile everything and it will give it to the page. AOT compiler is not like that. AOT compiler converts your Angular HTML and TypeScript code into efficient JavaScript at the building phase itself, before it reaches the browser. So it will send that compiled code directly to the browser. so that browser can directly run it. It will not compile it. That means before it reaching the browser, the entire code is compiled. That is what the ability of AOT compiler, ahead of time. JIT compiler will load the library into browser and compile in browser. So that makes applications heavy. Now the application means perform slow. Now the applications are very fast because of applications are very fast. So because of this AOT compiler, it uses an ahead of time compiler. Of course, it is having both compiler support. You can choose between the compilers depending on the situation. That means you can choose the AOT compiler or JIT compiler. You can enable or disable compilers, which you will learn how to do that. So these are all the features. So when we compare with the previous versions, and generally people ask, sir, what is difference between Angular 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? That's all nonsense, not required. Why? Because so you don't need that. So at the end of Angular, so I will give you a document. That document will show you what are the deprecated options. Why? Because up to Angular 8, Angular 7, remember, up to Angular 7 no longer under support now. They are deprecated, gone. Right? So now only the versions Angular 8, 9, and 10 are in long-term support. Long-term support, Angular went into long-term support now, 8. Only 9 and 10 are the professional versions in use. Your company sometimes may be using Angular 4, 5, 6. Somebody may ask, like, so even we don't have a professional support for them. Long-term support has been withdrawn for up to Angular version 7. It's waste of time even about discussing them also. If you are handling Angular 10, you can handle all the versions. Only the point is you need to know what's new in this. What that's you will obviously learn while learning it. And what's new and what's not there in the previous versions, those you will see while learning itself. So you don't need to worry about other versions because they're already gone, deprecated now. So we don't have a long-term support actually. So long-term support for even Angular 8 is ended. So on November, long-term support of Angular 8 is ended. Now Angular 9, 10 is there. Right. So you should know about what is there in the latest version. You will be able to handle all the other versions also. Only the point is you need to know, only the point you need to know. So when you are using Angular 10 features, you need to know how they handle this in the older versions. If you are working on older version, and if you want to know the difference, that you will obviously learn while learning the concept. For every concept we will discuss that this is not there in older version, this is there new in new versions. We will discuss about them. Technically, so the major features of Angular over AngularJS, so the ability of developing across cross platforms and speed and performance with all these compilers. Another important is the support for differential loading. Differential loading. Differential loading means so browser based library. That means actually when you are using browsers, our browsers are classified into two types. We have legacy browsers and we have modern browsers. Legacy browsers are the browsers which use ES, which support up to ES4 and HTML4. Modern browsers are the browsers which supports ES5 and higher and HTML5. Now generally what happens is if any code is compiled for the modern browsers, some code snippets are not understandable to old version browsers. Browser compatibility issues will come. Angular supports differential loading. differential loading. What is advantage of differential loading is your library will be compiled and processed according to the browser that is requested. So that means according from which browser they have requested your application, according to the browser version, according to that browser's ability. So the library will be compiled and processed and sent. That means now Angular has two types of libraries. It will send a library which is suitable for legacy browsers on legacy browsers, and it will send a library which is suitable for modern browsers for modern browsers. This will reduce the compatibility issues. This will technically reduce the compatibility issues. So that means one of the main advantages of Angular is the support of differential loading. Differential loading is nothing but it allows you to load only the content that is required. Now, these are all the features of Angular actually. Features of Angular. Now, what is new in Angular 10? What is new in Angular 9? So what is difference between Angular 10 and 9? This is not the time to discuss. Why? Because suppose if I say that Angular 10 has introduced ng form. Now you will have a doubt. What is this ng form? This is not the right time at all to discuss between them. Many people think that in the first day they have to learn the difference between Angular 9 and 10. How seriously you can learn this, right? So without knowing anything in Angular, if I start explaining that this option is removed, this option is there, you are completely blank, right? You don't know anything about Angular, and you are asking that in the first day you want difference between Angular 9 and 10. That's like serious joking. That why? Because you don't know any feature. If I say that Angular 10 has introduced this facility, you don't know what it is first, then what do you learn about that facility? So the discussion about the difference between the versions should be done at the end of the Angular sessions as a professional developer, not at the first day of Angular, because everybody is excited in first day itself. Sir, what is difference between Angular 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Are you serious? That means you can't, how you can understand without knowing any topic in Angular? If I start explaining difference between different versions of Angular, that's like completely baseless thing you're discussing. So that means the right time about understanding difference between the versions is for the people who know already Angular, right? So that is the correct time actually to understand that this version, these features are there, this version, these features are introduced. So when you start with learning an advanced version, first you should directly know that that version contains some abilities. And when you cannot compare with other versions until or unless you already know that version. So we will go into that once we start discussing the options. When we start discussing the options, for every concept we will discuss. So that is there any change in previous versions and the current version. That's how we will get a clarity about the new version that we are discussing. So in the first class, so about Angular, if I put a table and say that Angular 9 have this, Angular 10 have this, that's like baseless point. We have to learn about them and understand about them. So technically, so what is the main features of this technology? That is what you have to know in the beginning. The main features of this technology is having the ability of building applications across all platforms. So, and having the ability to improve the speed and performance of applications, and having the ability to reach broad range of devices, that is from a mobile to browser everywhere. These are the major features. Under that, I told you so many points, how it is cross-platform, how it is having the speed and performance, and how it can reach broad range of devices, how it can reduce the compatibility issues, these all things, right? So these are the major features. And when we start discussing about, that means which version of Angular so we are discussing. So which version of Angular we are discussing, right? So we have to know that, so technically already several beta versions will be there, several beta versioning releases may happen. So first what you need to know is what are the stable releases and all those. I will give a small table to you in the notes, you can go into it. So, and currently stable version, so the latest stable version of Angular is Angular 11. Angular 11 is the stable version of Angular, and it introduced into November 11 on 2020. That is the latest version of Angular. Even up to Angular 8 it is gone. Up to Angular version 8 no longer supported by any community. So that means long-term support has been withdrawn up to version 8 of Angular. That means currently long-term support is only for Angular 9. Only long-term support is there for Angular 9, and that will end. Angular 9 will end on August 2021. Angular 9 is going to end on August 2021, and Angular 10 is going to end. Angular 10 is going to end on December 2021. And currently active version of Angular is 11 actually. That means long-term support for Angular 10 will end at 2021 and December 2021. So the next year, right? So current active version of Angular is Angular 11, right? So we started actually, so with Angular 10 actually, Angular 10 we started, but we will now start building application with Angular 11 only, right? So that means officially you can keep in your resume that you have Angular 11 knowledge, right? Because I will give you what's new added into Angular 11 once we start discussing everything, right? So actually our session is started with, but because we have already an active version of Angular 11, better we will go into this Angular 11, right? Officially we will go into Angular 11, right? Obviously they are on their own. Any version which is being used, so which is not under long-term support, as a software developer, you know that you are on your own. Am I right? Huh? You crack your head by yourself, right? So any issues, you are on your own. I hope you know that what is meant by no long-term support, right? As a software developer, I think you know what is meant by no long-term support, right? Obviously we don't even consider those versions, so because you have any fixes, any problems and any issues, so very rarely you will get help from anybody. Am I right? So that means even the community is not going to help you on that, right? So that means you are on your own resolving the issues and fixing the bugs, right? Nobody will help you in fixing those if you are using any older versions, huh? Right? So community always supports which is under long-term support and which is active. So currently we are going to discuss Angular 11. We are going to discuss Angular 11 and we are going to work with Angular 11. And of course, if you are learning Angular 11 means whatever is there in Angular 10 is there. Some new changes happened internally. Not drastic changes. Internally, few changes have happened, which you will understand once you start working with it. So because if I talk technical terms, so without teaching you any Angular, then you cannot understand those terms. So you cannot understand those terms. So that is the reason. So better. So first we have to. So we have to start learning it. Then you can understand. So what is the ability of those features? What is the new concept of Angular? So we can technically work with it. So right. So new releases, technically some changes happen. You cannot directly understand those changes until or unless you already have Angular knowledge. Okay. So that I will tell you once we start working with it. That means now don't worry that can I able to handle Angular 10? Obviously you will able to handle all Angular versions if you learned Angular 11. Only the point you have to know is when you are using some features, those features are, some of the features are deprecated in older versions. In new version, they are changed. Those I will explain while discussing that concept. Then you can handle any version. That doesn't matter for you. Okay. So technically, so we are going to start and work with Angular 11. Angular 11. And how do we set up the environment for Angular 11? How we can install Angular 11 in our applications, and how do we start with this? This step by step we will see now. Means installing, configuring, and working. As I already told you clearly, difference between versions of Angular you cannot discuss or you cannot understand until you know Angular. So that we are going to discuss towards the end. So just, and not only you need to wait until end. Once I start discussing the topics in Angular, so when any change happened in any topic that in the version we are discussing, I will tell detailedly that in previous versions we need to do this, and now in this version we have to do this, so that you can easily classify that and you can easily understand that, right? So we are going to deal with Angular 11 now. So with the new features, whatever available, I will show you how do we set up the environment, how do we install, how do we work with Angular, right? Then that we will practically start setting up environment, installing from tomorrow onwards, right? So the all the features, all the differences between Angular and all, I will upload into the documentation. You go through that. And from tomorrow, we will start the practical into Angular. So the version we are going to deal in Angular is Angular 11. Okay. So tomorrow we will get into it. Tomorrow, practically, we start working with Angular. Okay. Right. How do we set up environment and how do we work with it? Yes, Raut.
Yes, sir. Actually, that polymorphism example which you taught in like in your class, so I tried that one. So when I am like compile in HTML page, when I like prompt that value, that is not like coming in
Can you
Windows.
share once your screen what you done?
Yeah, sure, sir. 1 minute.
Yeah, where is your code?
So this one. So when I am compile like tsc.demo.ts, when I'm doing, when JavaScript file is creating, then I am getting 6 errors in like
That this is, you have to, your binding expression is you are using round brace. It's a flower brace, right? See the binding expression, document dot write dollar flower brace this
okay.
dot name.
Okay, sir.
Your binding expression is wrong. Huh?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's continue tomorrow, right? So tomorrow we will start working and designing everything, right?